circumstances. A cold and windy evening in Birmingham, almost 7:15 at night, with all the drama that has preceded the race having gone on throughout the day. There's Steve Crabb, number 12. This race is all about places in the Commonwealth Games, as well as the confrontation between Coe and Ovett. The final of the men's 1500 metres in the 1989 3A's Championships, and it's going to be an historic race for more reasons than one, no matter what happens. Richard McDonnell on the inside there, just leading them into the first bend. Seb Coe in second place. Tony Morell is third. Rob Harrison fourth. Steve Crabb now moves up, and it looks a slowish start, and the crowd really getting behind their favourites in this race.
Well, to get back to the race, Alan, I think if we're talking about people winning it and running the right sort of tactics, we're going to look at Steve Crabb to make sure that this race doesn't come down to the last 200-300 metres, because if it does, then there's probably only going to be one result, and I would imagine that Seb Coe would figure in that. Steve Crabb didn't look too good in the heats yesterday. He was well beaten by Neil Horsfield, but I think today he'll probably at some stage in the last 600 metres take the race by the scruff of the neck, despite the conditions, and make it a long run for home and make it a good honest race. 60-second first lap, average, not too slow, not too fast.
McDonnell, number 39, in the lead. Number 11 is Seb Coe. 48, Tony Morell. On the inside there, all in black, is Rob Harrison wearing number 25. Steve Ovett, 3 from the back at the moment, just behind the tall Welshman Neil Horsfield. Steve Crabb in the red and yellow, in about 4th. The crowd following not only the race, but our TV pictures being beamed out on that giant screen at the top of the bend they've just come round. 2 laps to go, and this athletics version of chess is just beginning to bubble, and as yet nothing has happened, but the drama will all come very soon, I'm sure. Richard McDonnell leads, Seb Coe second, Rob Harrison third, Tony Morell fourth, Steve Crabb in fifth, Steve Ovett still 3 from the rear, running alongside Neil Horsfield.
A pretty slow second lap there, and well, Steve Ovett moving up on the outside, and a bit of pushing, Tony Morell involved as well. You're going to expect that in a 1500 metre race. We saw it in the 800 metres. When the pace is slow, athletes get nervous, they want to ensure a good position, they're going to start pushing and shoving around. But I cannot believe that the race is continuing in the vein in which it is. You know, there's some guys in this race who have no chance of out-kicking people in the last 200 metres. Why don't they do something? Maybe Steve Crabb is going to now.
Steve Crabb moves wide, and still it's all about elbows, and Crabb has fallen. And there's the first drama that was unexpected, and Coe was involved in that as well, and Coe has suddenly gone back about 6 places. Morell's in the lead. Richard McDonnell, an almost unknown, is in second place. And both Coe and Ovett seem to be out of it at the moment. Steve Halliday has moved through into second place, and Horsfield, the Welshman, third. Who could have believed it would turn out like this? This really is unexpected drama. Coe has got himself back in touch again, remarkably so, but there's no harder way than this. Ovett is in about 6th place. Coe is still third. What effect will that dramatic incident have had? He grits his teeth and goes again. This is the hardest possible way to win, but win he could do here as Horsfield comes up, and Coe is going to win in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. Seb Coe wins it. Morell second, Horsfield third, Harrison fourth, Halliday was 5th, and Seb Coe, I made 10th. Steve Ovett, I made 10th. And as Seb Coe felt the back of his hamstring as he came round the bend, then Steve Ovett looked a dejected figure.
Seb Coe produced a 25.4 last 200 metres.
Well, what can you say about that? Steve Crabb.
Well, never mind his last 200 metres, I'd like to know what his last lap was. a remarkable fight back. He was involved in that. Well, I don't know what happened. Steve Crabb actually fell, and Seb almost went over the top of him, was balked pretty badly, went back in the field. Tony Morrell took full advantage. That happened to me once back in the European Championships, and when somebody falls behind you, often you get that spurt to go at the front and kick. Tony Morrell did the right thing. I think we can maybe have a look now at exactly what happened. Steve Crabb's decided the pace is too slow. He's come around the outside. He wants to get to the front. I think Seb realises maybe he's going to get boxed, but I don't think he had anything to do with that. There was just, you know, a clash of heels, the type of thing which happened. We saw it happen in the Europa Cup last week, 1500. Seb almost went down, did very well to stay on his feet. I think Rob Harrison's gone onto the inside there. Steve Ovett got balked by Seb. You know, he's managing to stay on his feet was an incredible achievement. And here we see Tony Morrell. Look, he's quickly thinking, right, these guys have fallen down. What should I do? Go to the front, take advantage, which he does. And look how far back Seb is.
It was actually Seb, well, when I say caused Steve Crabb to fall, I don't mean differing now, but Steve Halliday has in fact been disqualified for his part in all the drama. So a final twist to the tail, but look at this here. Remember where Seb Coe was when they went into that final lap. Remember, he'd almost been on the floor, he'd been sent spinning, and to come back like that and win in that fashion just shows you that he's still got it, hasn't he, just?
Well, we have an estimated time, Alan, of 51.1 for his last lap, which, just, you know, considering he was stumbling going into that last lap, was a remarkable run. Tony Morrell, hat off to him. He did very, very well. He went to the front, he did the right thing, and then he managed to hang on pretty well down the home straight. It looked for a moment as though Horsfield was going to catch him, but he hung on to that second spot, and he ran very, very well. Now,
here's the fall that led to all the problems. 24 there, Halliday in the back, who we just heard has been disqualified, moving out here. It wasn't clear to see from that why he was disqualified. I didn't see that he'd caught him there. Now, Coe goes spinning away here. Rob Harrison, number 25, had to run onto the infield. He nearly fell, Seb Coe. Well, I thought the Zola Bud Mary Decker fall would be the most famous in athletics history, but this one's a contender, because this is one they'll be looking at time and time again. You can bet your life. Poor old Steve Crabb as well. You've got to feel really sorry for him. But anyway, the man of the moment, Seb Coe, is down there now with Jim Rosenthal.
Well, Seb, I know you want to have another look at that incident. I'm sure you do, and I'm sure we'll show it to you in a moment. But just put that incident to one side. You must have been delighted, to say the least, at the way you recovered.
Yes, I mean, it was a bit of a worry down in that back straight, in the finishing straight, because apart from anything else, I don't know whether Steve Crabb's all right. I mean, a horrible feeling I trod on him as I went over the top of him. But yes, it was. There was nothing you could do in those situations, and you just stick your head down and go.
I mean, you seemed to be almost on the point of pulling out yourself. You felt the back of your leg and it looked ominous, and you went.
Something, and I got caught at the front as well. And, well, you know, you lose nothing by going on.
Let's have a look at what actually happened. And you were right in the middle of it. And just give us your impressions of these pictures.
I did get the feeling Steve came across.
Number 12.
And possibly, well, I think he caught Tony Morrell from behind. But I think, in fairness, I don't think Steve gave himself as much room as he could have afforded at that time, because we weren't really going that quickly, and I think there was a little bit more space on the track for him to have pulled forward a bit. But when you get a tactical race like that, then it's not unusual for people to take spills, unfortunately.
Halliday has in fact been disqualified, but looking at you there, I mean, it was some fairly nifty footwork to get out of bother anyway.
I think that's a bit unfortunate to disqualify somebody in that situation. It looked a bit of an occupational hazard out there. But there's a lot of work to do over the last 500 metres.
How highly would you put your recovery?
Well, I suppose I'm an 800-metre man, and faced with... The funny thing is, I've been running 500 metres in training until they've been coming out of my ear rolls. And in fact, funnily enough, that was just the distance I really needed to turn it on this afternoon. And it's nice when you can see something that you don't plan, but something that pays off like that. It's nice.
It's very hard for me to
Jim,
talk...
you haven't offered me a place on the plane yet.
No, I'm not going to do that one yet. I've got to change... Sadly, I've got to change the subject here, and it is a very hard thing to do, especially after a race like this. But there's been an enormous amount of politics flying around here today, and Steve was on the verge of not running. And he said he was not going to run today on a point of principle because he was offered money to run and you were not offered money to run. I'd just like you to give your feelings on that topic.
Well, very simply, Steve is one of life's, if you like, caring people. I spoke to him yesterday after, well, before we warmed up. He said, I'd like a word with you at the end of the race. And he said, look, I'll come clean. The situation is, and in fairness to Steve, it didn't just come from him. There are numerous writers and scribblers here that came up to me and said that, you know, this was the case. And he felt that he didn't want me to find out subsequently that he was being paid to run in a 3A's championship and me not having been offered anything. Well,
you definitely were not offered anything yourself.
I mean, I'm naive enough to still believe that you run national championships and run for your country without being paid. But Steve was honest enough to tell me that this was the case, and he's only gone up in my estimation for doing it, but I understand he did feel on a point of principle that it was important to make the point, and he did, and I know that he took up the cudgels on my behalf, which again is a pretty decent thing to do.
I was going to say that really from outside...
I have to be honest, up until Steve mentioned it, I hadn't even thought about it,
right.
But...
It's hard for people watching, I'm sure, to say, well, hold on a minute, I'm getting paid for something, you're not getting paid for something, so I'm going to pull out and not perform. It's a hard argument for people to understand.
I think it probably nicely sums up what athletics is about and the kind of system that both he and I came through. It says a lot about him and it says a lot about the sport.
Good luck in the Commonwealth Games. We've got to leave it there.
Thank you.